Welcome everybody while we sort out our technical matters. Welcome in first day of December, and let's get started in the interest of time. Do we have a forum? I think we have. Everybody is here, so noted. Secretary's report. Jamie, what do you have for us?
Well, did everybody get the minutes?
Yes.
Yep. Any changes, comments?
No.
All right.
I'll accept.
Second. Who was the first?
All right.
Peter. Okay.
And then treasurer's report. Clark, what do you have for our vast wealth?
Our available balance is $6827.48, $6,827.48.
Sounds like enough to have a party.
Which will be severely diminished after you pay for this.
Okay. Well, just in the interest of time, let me just jump right into the under new business, the introduction of our special guest speaker. I'm very, very pleased to introduce the mayor who's with us today. I think a lot of you have met him previously. If you haven't, he's been on the commission now a little over a year, and certainly I've enjoyed watching you most of the time, and attending city commission meetings mainly in person. Certainly seeing you in action and doing some very, very good things. Note that the mayor is the youngest mayor ever of the city of Sarasota. It's 31-ish. I'm trying to think back what I was doing when I was 31. It wasn't being the mayor. Okay. I was saying that what I was doing when I was 31. The one thing I have learned in my 3 or 4 face-to-faces with the mayor is that he's a very fact-oriented person, and I think that's where he and I share some common ground in looking at data and facts, and I certainly appreciate that. So, without further ado, we welcome you to say a few introductory remarks. We're going to try and just keep it very short, if you would. Then we're going to move into some questions that I think are along people's minds, and just use our time with some kind of face-to-face kind of questionnaire. So if you'd like to say a few words of introduction about your goals as a mayor and your first year on the commission, please, the floor is yours.
Sure. Yeah, I just wanted to comment that I have enjoyed most of my time on the commission as well, and yeah. So I'm presently the Sarasota's ceremonial ketogenic mayor, and it's a lot of fun. I'm learning a lot every single day. That's the primary goal of all this, understanding that we don't know everything. I mean, understanding budgetary procedures and all the different funds we have, and it's not just, we need more lawn care. It's like, no, there's a tree fund that can only be used for trees, so we can't use that to pay for police officers. So, and it's very restrictive in the way it's conducted. And there's a lot of red tape just to get anything done. Right now, I'm trying to just put a piece of art on Fruitville and Benito where there's an empty lot that goes unused and there's trash there. Well, county has a right of way, so in order to cut that red tape, they need to go through their process. We need to go through our process, and nothing is getting done, and it's so frustrating that I think the primary goal of government should be to make things easier for people. And if this position allows me to do that, that's what I'm doing. So I'll take any questions. I don't really have much to say other than that.
Well, I've put together, I've kind of pulled some of the board and I've kind of consolidated this. One question about Main Street. Main Street is, I think we would all agree, a vital element of downtown, from the bayfront all the way to school. Merchants have struggled and continue to struggle with the pandemic, and we know them all. But there have been some good things happening with the trolley and the holiday lights. But I think we would all agree that a lot of the efforts have been kind of band-aids, and there are more fundamental kind of relook at Maine is probably appropriate. So it presents some challenges as well as some opportunities. I was wondering what how you feel about Maine and what might be done to Maine, particularly if we have federal infrastructure money that could be on the horizon to be allocated to various projects. What's your thoughts on Main Street?
It's difficult because if we look at an ideal city, you would ideally have wide sidewalks with setbacks, kind of like St. Pete, like just these wide. St. Pete actually, they have their buildings go almost, I think, twice as tall as ours, and you don't feel it because of the wide sidewalks. And but I'm not a city planner, and I don't know what all the issues are unless I get emails from people. I do know that we need wider sidewalks. I do know that the trees are a great addition. We would love to have more parking in terms of I'm not. Ultimately, this is the goal. We would like for businesses to be frequented by most of the people that live in the locale, and that involves creating a city that is walkable, livable, and we don't want empty storefronts. We don't want an ideal city would have wide sidewalks, it would have first floor of commercial, and it would have some residential aspect to it, some of what you'll find in St. Petersburg or Tampa in some parts, because we're trying to get people to walk. We're trying to get people for the longest time we built our communities based on cars. Look at the average street. It's like this much sidewalk and then this much for cars and then this much sidewalk. When did we decide that cars were more important than people? So now urbanists who study this are saying, wow, that was really messed up. We should probably change our approach. And they're trying to create communities, full neighborhoods that kind of like what you get in New York, right? Everybody within your block, you have a corner store and you have all of these things that add to the environment of having a full living experience, including shade trees. We have a lot of sun in here in Florida, and one of the most counterintuitive things I've ever seen in my life is that I drive down Fruitville all the time because I live down by Fruitville, and there are these just amazing, beautiful, bushy trees on the median, and then on the side there are these like skeletal trees that are just like barely casting any shade. So I think the roles should be reversed. So we need shade, but ultimately it is people like those that are in the room that care about this community and see these the nuanced issues, the potholes that maybe the city management and city staff don't see, because you see it every day. So in order to make a better community, we need everyone's involvement.
We sure would like, in your position again on Main Street, you would support the idea of moving ahead a planning effort to get something planned there. So if it's more or less, shall I say, somewhat shovel ready,
yeah,
if we can find the funding.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. We hired one of the greatest urbanists of all time, named Andres Duane, and to create what was called at the time the Downtown Master Plan, or the 2020 plan. That was last year, and it's that outdated. We've never updated it, even though in the document it says you should update this from time to time. But we never updated it. We never adapted to the needs of the community, and I feel that is very important.
Okay, well, great. Following on about Main Street, I think there's been some improvements to the abuses occurring on Main Street, thanks to the police and others involved. But still, a number of us observe about street cleanliness, and I was wondering what kind of budgets and issues surround more frequent street cleaning and keeping the codes and ordinances enforced.
Yeah, so that's an interesting topic, because we found out the streets were only getting cleaned twice a year. So now we're moving that up to 3, and if we can find more funding, which we should be able to, because we have just over 20 million in reserves, be able to do it maybe four times, or allow a group of business owners to pitch into this, or did pitch into it. There are many ways of funding this, and yes, we are actively working to clean up downtown. On the enforcement side, over the past year, we've gone through 2 different leaderships at the police department. We had Chief Pepino, who was a great leader in many respects. We did a national search and we hired her in 2012. And she did great things. She brought us to a record low in crime statistics and many other things. But in other, her critics would say that, you know, many of the homeless or individuals who are blocking sidewalks, those issues were not being necessarily tended to. And that came out of a fear of litigation. And I didn't know this. I found this out like 3 months ago because we had the police chief. They're like, what's going on? Why aren't our laws being enforced? And that's what it was. It was a fear. It was a mandate that came from past leadership that current leadership didn't know about. And so that's part of the struggle here. When you get elected, they don't just come and say, hey, we do this because of this, or these are the policies that are in place. It just is a thing that you just have to get good at asking just every single question possible. And many people, especially in government, they are not trained to question it or to or anything. You ask them if is this cup full of water? It's like yes, and they don't give you an opinion. It's half full. You know, you have to ask these questions, and then they will elaborate. And that's the struggle. And but we are right now, since last year, the point in time survey shows that we are at a 30% decrease in homelessness in the city level and a 40% decrease at the county level. And there are many efforts underway that will reduce that even further. First of all, we're going to move the bus station out of downtown. The city took a vote and the county took a vote. We just need to find a location. 2, Northport is starting a service. The services are going to be provided there by the Salvation Army and several other organizations, which means we're going to stop being a funnel from Northport and Bradenton. We're also adding a stop between Bradenton and here, so that again, it's not just a direct funnel. The issue of homelessness right now, we have so many services in the city of Sarasota that there is no excuse to be homeless. If you are homeless, it is entirely by choice. You can stay at the Salvation Army for free if you're getting services. You don't have to pay the $12. You can get a job at the city of Sarasota cleaning the streets or fixing graffiti or whatever it is. We have a job for you if you are indeed in need of a job. And there is no excuse. But the problem of homelessness is really threefold. 1, it's enforcement. 2, it is us. And 3, the services.
Well,
So yeah,
I was going to say, I think a really credible Kevin Stiff was the speaker. And you guys are doing.
we talked about him, and he's doing a great job. He retired this month, actually. So he was
Okay. Well, in the interest of time, just if I may move on. Support of the arts. The city of Sarasota is often referred to as a cultural capital of Florida because of the intensity of art organizations, so music, ballet, theater, painting. These groups taken as a whole are probably our largest single industry and generator of jobs and tax revenues also. And on a per capita basis, maybe an employment generator on a per capita basis the same as Manhattan. So DSCA has recently formed, under Ken Sheelan's leadership, a arts and cultural committee. So let me cut to the chase. The orchestra, we know, is leaving the city, unfortunately. What's your view, including a priority of the new Performing Arts Center and the role the city government is playing in this in combination with the Van Wezel Foundation and others?
Okay, so you said a lot. I'm going to address it all in the least favorable order possible. So I'm going to address the orchestra first. The orchestra had a $1 a year lease on the waterfront in our city. They were running at a deficit. We looked at all their 990s, and still we decided that we were going to try to negotiate with them. Some of you may have been on that board or may be on that board, and I mean we. Regardless of that, there was a very large donor who passed away. And I was an acquaintance of his, and he wanted the orchestra to be. He was okay with it going at Robarts. I really wanted it at Robarts for the longest time, but there was a concern over sea level rise. We tried to give them part of Payne Park, for, you know, and they were just talking like they had this large bargaining chip, like let's leave, and ultimately we offered them dozens of locations, and they said no. My concern in all of that was that an organization that is running in the red is going to build $100 million facility on a park, and what are they going to do then? Are they going to run in the red, or what's going to happen when they can't afford it, or when the fact that trends show that orchestra's on the decline? Then it comes back to us, and then it's our problem, and then we have another Van Wezel, which is again another structure that is falling apart. We spent $500,000 last year, not 2 years ago, on a water chiller. $500,000. It is one of the best structures we have. I mean, it's iconic, and it's the Mary Benzel, who currently runs it, is a great executive director. Actually, her contract is the only contract that's tied to performance in the city of Sarasota. And the tennis doesn't make money. Bobby Jones didn't make money. The municipal auditorium loses $500,000 a year. Parking doesn't make money, but the Van Wezel does. It's actually award winning. So I'm very, very proud of the Van Wezel and the talent they're able to attract. So would I support a performing arts hall? Sure. I think there are ways of structuring it, plus that money is going to be generated by our TIF, and we can definitely bond it out and create something that is truly iconic if taxpayers aren't held responsible for it. Because every single time, every organization that I've seen at the county and city level that promises to raise money, and the Bay is a great group, by the way, I'm a big supporter of the Bay, but we, you know, so far, by the time phase one was finished, the money that was said to be fundraised by the time phase one started was not fundraised. So we're you know, they're still on a great track, but I would hate for this money to not be raised ultimately, and then for the government to foot the bill, because that is how the contract reads. And before the contract, I got elected after the contract was entered into, but that was one of my biggest critiques, because our money goes in first, and we're also the guarantor. So we're in this, guys, so we better hope it succeeds.
Well, I understand an operating agreement between the city and the Van Wezel is to be under discussion very soon, so hopefully.
Van Wezel Foundation, which is not tied to the Van Wezel in any way. Actually, the Van Wezel is run by the city. The Van Wezel Foundation, I manage foundations for a living. Van Wezel Foundation is private individuals that got together and said, we support the Van Wezel. So let's not, you know, everybody's acting like it's the same thing. It's not. They're entirely different things. So we're essentially saying we're going to give the Van Wezel to a private group of individuals. Van Wezel has a great reputation, but our executive director, our team, we have no guarantees that they're going to be hired. We don't know what the agreements are going to look like. So we don't know anything. Actually, it hasn't even come to the commission, but we are walking around acting like it's a done deal, and it's not.
I think our point of view would be to cooperate as we can to see a iconic structure that makes financial sense added to the Bay. On the area of money, significant new buildings continue downtown. My count is something like there's 700 dwelling units under construction as we speak. There's something like 1,700 for which have been to the DRC. So forth. That's going to bring 2,500 more people downtown in the coming 5 or 6 years, at least in season. Those projects are generating, and you and I have talked individually on this, significant impact fee monies. The tune of $4,500 to $5,000 a unit comes to the multi-motor, and a couple grand comes to the park impact fees. As Kelly Strickland, I think, recently said, those are not, what did she use? Those are restricted by ordinance. These funds are not discretionary. They need to be used for capacity increasing projects. And my question is very kind of specifically on projects like Main Street or Boulevard of the Arts or 10th or the Ringling the Legacy Trail extension. Do you have views on the allocation of those impact fees that do have a nexus test component to them by ordinance?
So I've never been the type of person that says, this is what I want, it's just gonna happen. Now, it's always a group effort. As you know, we even our citizens tax advisory committees and our surtax committee, they make recommendations as to capital projects. So I whatever the community needs. I'm not the community. I don't speak for the whole community. I represent the community, and I certainly am open to listening to everything. So are there projects that I would like? Sure, but I don't speak for the community. The community speaks to me, and then we make a decision that way. So I mean, I can't just say, you know what, let's put a water park downtown. I mean, it doesn't matter what I think.
And I think our position has been, some of these projects are in master plans that have been adopted. So the question is, what is our prioritization? Funding sources, or funding sources, usually plural, is better than just one source.
And a question we have to ask ourselves is, do we follow the existing master plans that we talked about that are outdated? Even our staff is saying they're outdated. They're no longer practical. Things have evolved. We want to update all of that before we start investing significant funds towards projects.
Okay. I guess the observation I would make is the transportation master plan was just adopted, what, 18 months or so.
Yeah.
So that was relatively
Yes,
recent.
transportation master plan.
One other thing, how are you doing on time here? We got a couple more minutes, Patrick.
It's almost 4.
Yeah, okay. Well, just to wrap up, one thing you mentioned, trees. The Trees Advisory Committee was formed in 2017 and has developed a plan and a ZTA. And that is to be coming back to the commission. I think it was for a dedicated meeting, if I'm not mistaken. What do you know anything about the timing on that and your support for that coming back to the commission for adoption?
So everybody is in support of trees. I don't think anybody says we're not. I hear I understand that. I know what our tree equity score is. Downtown, it's in the Bayfront, it's a very high score. On the outskirts of town, not so much. And we need more trees. And trees are beautiful. And if you look at our tree initiatives over the years, you'll see that they have certainly paid off. Allocation of trees like shade trees for walkability, those are also, they should be a priority. But they're asking a commission of people that just got elected that have never been in urban design or landscape architecture to make a decision about very, very, very technical things. I mean, you are talking about presenting me with a list of 4, 5 trees that are allowed, and I can't even tell you what any of them look like. And I mean, I would. So I think as a board, if you look at and I've said this before, like the board of McDonald's, they make policy decisions. They say we would like employees to have this, we would like fiscal decisions, financial decisions, but they don't decide the color of the trim of the uniform that the employees wear. So a lot of these specifics are actually being elevated up to the commission, and we're deciding what trees are allowed and how much the fine should be. It's either $100, and a lot of these, I saw someone with a $90,000 fine for cutting down a tree, and I don't know the specifics of it, but sometimes we need to address the concerns of the citizens as they, that have come forth. For example, there's a gentleman that has a lot. It's an empty lot that is zoned for residential. There's only one problem. It's all trees. And if he takes down a tree, he has to plant three trees. And it creates a problem because you can't fit 3 more trees in there. So how, does the code allow for that for a tree bank, for them to be able to mitigate somehow, or provide trees for Bobby Jones or the Bay, or just on our waterfront in general? So I have broad preferences for trees. I would, broad things I would like to see. I would like to see greater flexibility in terms of the types of trees people can put in their properties. I would like to see a reasonability factor so that the city manager or our tree department can look at the reasonability of these fees and how they're being enforced. But in terms of asking me like whether there's a $50 for every inch that you cut is a valid fee, I honestly don't think we should be making that call.
Are you supportive of that coming back to the commission?
It is coming back, yeah. It will.
Be coming back.
Yeah, and yeah. So we did give them some comments, and what I did is I emailed it to. I mean, I don't know if I emailed it to some of you, but I emailed it to as many tree experts that I could find. And I was welcoming all input from people on the Sierra Club to people who wanted no trees on the planet, and I wanted to know everything. Let me know, and we'll decide from there.
Just one final question. Any member of the board, just one last question. That,
I do. I just what do you see as your biggest obstacle that we here can help you with?
Biggest obstacle is red tape. There's the entire process of the city commission, and many times we don't know what the issues are, and sometimes there are like 50-60 people that show up to a commission meeting and nobody is actually taking notes. The best way to advocate, I feel, is to write an email, because those emails do, for the most part, get forwarded to the proper department and they get compiled. When you show up to these commission meetings, yes, the minutes are taken. Yes, you know, there's a transcript of what happened, but you know, you would think that showing up in mass would have a greater effect, but in reality, it kind of diminishes the voices of those people. I would rather have all similar ideas in one place and discuss this entire stack of comments with staff.
So are you saying then that when there is an issue, that it would be better to have that same group of citizens who have that issue to request a meeting with you to sit down as a one-on-one?
Absolutely. I will give you my cell phone number.
Okay, because that is probably one of the biggest misconceptions that I've been hearing is you show up at a commission meeting, now you're going to get their ear. And so that would be a good message to maybe take back. So
we also have an app that allows you to generate
Yes.
work orders. You download it, take a picture, it automatically generates a work order. But I'll give everybody actually a card, and you can call me. And I would love to sit down with every single one of you, even if it's on a monthly basis, whatever you need, and we can talk about these issues, because I can't do this alone, and I don't know everything. So I rely on experts and I rely on the community, and together we can make it a better Sarasota. But I'm not here to make decisions for you. You know, on your behalf, but not necessarily dictate what's best for you.
listen, I think that's all time allows, and we certainly appreciate your time, how busy your schedule is, and we look forward to having
Yeah, I'll see you at the party. Hour and a half.
Stick around or see you at the party.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Is anyone here? Oh, you did.
What, we want a gallery.
Yes, we're
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
Yeah, great.
We had the phone. We answered it. Oh, I thought it was
just
off.
silenced the mic. I don't
thought it
know.
was off.
We signed up for the
Sorry, I thought it was off.
Can you go back to the speaker mode?
Which speaker?
Speaker mode, it's where you had it before.
Okay.
You set the wrong speaker screen on it.
No. Well, has Bill Deal got his thing, maybe he's.
No, everybody's muted. David's screen is the only one not muted.
Is his screen muted?
This is muted.
Field is muted.
Is this what we want?
Oh, no, we want David's big screen. But if you touch the upper right, is that bring it up?
Touch the screen there.
That's bringing it up.
I'm confused. Patrick, change view. I've got speaker view, thumbnail, and gallery.
Gallery, go to gallery first, and then,
Okay, now I'll go to speaker view. That should be David's screen, should be, because it's got green selected, so it's the only one speaking. So now go to speaker view.
So this is what we want. No,
go to speaker view now. Although it might go back.
I think when you do that, it changes it.
Okay, I don't know why. I just go back to gallery then.
okay. That looks like the best we're going to be able to do. Okay. Also under new business, we have the Pickleball Club of Lakewood Ranch at the Gold Associate. Patrick, can you?
Well, let me make a motion to, we approve the 2 new associate members, Pickleball Club of Lakewood Ranch as a gold associate and Catered Reconstruction as a silver associate.
Second.
The Pickleball Club of Lakewood Ranch is building a facility, another facility on Fruitville that will be accessible to downtown condo residents who want to hold tournaments at a common facility that has lots of indoor pickleball courts, supposedly, in the future. But they wish to join, and we'll be so we'll hear more about it as a gold associate.
I'm going to move into that.
All right, approved.
Yes? Consensus on that? Yeah. Okay, and then moving on to old business. Jamie and I met, as I think you folks know from the last meeting, with Nancy Kelly at the city about grant opportunities. Jamie, can you give us a little bit of an update? You and I talked about this, but where things stand and what the plans are.
So originally, I think when we spoke, we were going to try to use the grant money towards one of our 2 live events for next year. The Platinum members set up tables at. And then we had an opportunity to have, I'm sorry, what the Restorative Cities author, what's her name?
Jenny Rowe.
Jenny Rowe. We had an opportunity to have Jenny Rowe come in. And so we met and we decided we kind of want to have, that's what we're talking about, the budget next. We actually were going to try to have 3 live events, so 2 of them being the Platinum member events. And we tried to work it in with Kristen, and we didn't really feel that the Restorative Cities presentation would really be that beneficial to the Platinum members. So we're going to try to write the grants for the Restorative Cities. And I'd reached out to Nancy Kelly because originally our meeting was for one of our associate member events. And I thought I had, all that set, and then we kind of switched gears. So I just wanted to update the board on that. And Nancy said the speaker's fees and the presentation room rental would be considered an eligible item. So that's what we're going to write the grant for. There's also a separate food and beverage grant that's completely separate from this one, and that's like for $250. It's like a 1-page grant, so I don't really anticipate problems with that one. But as long as everyone's okay with that, once I start writing this and we have approval for this, we really don't want to switch gears or add anything else because I've got to have this in by January 28th, so it really doesn't give me a whole lot of time. So I kind of want to start on it as soon as possible if everyone's okay with it.
That require a motion.
I don't. Does it require a motion, or is this?
Well, I think to come
Write the
back
grant.
with, before we submit the grant, I think we would want to review it and at least the president approve it.
Sure.
So certainly we have a draft by the January.
We'll have a draft on the 5th of January, whenever our meeting is. Okay, so we'll move forward with that. Then on the area of the budget and budget priorities, Patrick, can you and Clark, can you brief us on that?
Yeah, essentially, as we have laid out our budget for the coming years, one of the larger expenses will be referred to as our social media services, our marketing communications. We've been using an outside consultant. As you recall, we switched consultants about 3 months ago, and she's spent the last 3 months has been doing work on a per-hour basis so we can build up how much it's going to cost going forward and then set a fixed price. So we don't know what that's going to be exactly, but I put in the budget essentially what we had in last year's budget, the $9,600 That's basically 800 a month. So that's what I've got in the budget, but we'll get it finalized before we bring it back as it to be approved by the board. The major things is that we'll talk in a minute here about approving member benefits. And so the member benefit fees is going to increase the dues for associate fees, primarily at the platinum and gold level. And the reasoning for that is that by going back to doing 2 events a year, as we compared our costs back when we were doing 2 events a year, they almost doubled in terms of the hotel, the venue cost for that. So if we're going to continue to package in the tables at the sponsored events, then we need to accommodate that in that pricing for that. Plus the added marketing has proven that we've been able to put out regular monthly newsletters, news updates, plus other topical items. And so we're getting good feedback. Information is coming out on a regular basis and reasonably good content for that. So that's what we want to continue.
Can I ask
Yes.
just really quickly on the website, are you able to track how many people we have subscribed or whatever you want to call it, that people that access the website? Yeah, how many hits you get, and also how many different newsletters are we going on? Has that increased? What can we do to support increase?
Well, the key thing is content, and so as our marketing team, which is primarily David, myself, Jamie, and then Kristen, dialogue for representing associates, topics, and what topics are we doing based upon the different communications. Sure. The more we can do, keep in mind that we have people able to check individual items, whether it's dealing with transportation or other types of things, and we can send out specialty targeted news too. So this is one of the options we're trying to get to, and by using a consultant, one we switch to is much more knowledgeable about wild apricot and how to bring all this stuff together. We're doing more of that kind of planning rather than the Facebook ads or anything like that right now.
Okay, but as far as do you have ideas or a way to track how many hits you get or how many newsletters you've
We do get
we
the reports from Google. What we were having is we were having it compilated and given back to us in a nice report, but as that was being tracked, it had not gone up significantly. Comparison. We just don't have a big presence on the social media sites. It's been primarily more our website, direct communications back and forth with our members.
I will say that there's a wealth of information there. I really like getting the newsletter. It would be a shame not to have it be reaching as many people as possible. And so whatever we could do to support pushing that within our own condos, that would be great.
Patrick, did you say there's about 900? 900.
The current, the quarterly newsletter goes up to over 900 email addresses now. Our downtown target one, which is our news updates, goes to about 300 or 400. And that's where we are able to, through the events and the webinars we did, et cetera, acquire people that sign up for events that weren't on our previous list. The more we can do to get people to forward around to others in their condos, sign up. So this is one thing we'll look at with the marketing communications, is how we can do little things on the website to get people to capture that. That's more of a website. We do have in there website development of about 1,500. The goal is to integrate our 2 platforms into one and better track. Right. So any other questions about the major items? Okay, the plan is we'll put together the detail and that will come back in the packet for next month's. We'll get that out ahead of time so you have a chance to look at that, make any comments. All right. All right.
And then as far as the member benefits and fees, is that the next item, just to everybody had a chance to look at that and see the rationale for the adjustment.
Let me bring that up on the screen here so it's on. Let's see this. Okay, on the benefits, Jamie, do you want to talk this through maybe the changes we made for this year's?
Yeah, mostly a lot of the membership benefits are the same. there are a few things that previously, because of COVID, like Patrick was saying, that we used to have 2 in-person events, and then COVID happened, and so what we did was we gave them 2 webinars, and towards the end we were able to actually do a live event. So now we're back to 2 in-person events. They do get the opportunity to speak at these DSCA events. Like you guys kind of saw at the end, they get an opportunity to come up, explain their business, do a little drawing. And I think everything else, Patrick, there, perfect. They have their logo on the annual condo survey reports. The survey was something we added fairly recently, so that's an added benefit as well. I think the rest of them should be the same as before, but there was another benefit that we already sent out an email to the Platinum Associates and the rest of the associates, explaining another benefit that we don't have up here is David's recently had a relationship with the Lough Key Federation of Condos, and that's another huge market that they're in front of. They've showed up to one of our events and actually pulled one of our speakers. They're so impressed that's like an added benefit that business didn't see coming. So it's another whole audience to put them in front of. And like Patrick said, there's other reasons that we increased the cost. Platinum went from $500 to $650. Gold was $250. Now it's $350. Silver was $75, and now it's up to $25. And we'll share some feedback with you already. Not that that's all 20 members, but within days of us sending an email, 3 platinum members already reached out and says, definitely I want my spot. Didn't question the increase in fees, and that was immediately after I sent out the email. So, and if we do have people who don't want to be platinum, we have gold people lined up waiting for that spot. So I don't really anticipate there being a whole lot of fallout. So, and I think from a business standpoint, as a business owner, $650 for an entire year to get what they're getting is a great deal. It really is.
You want to make a motion to approve?
Yeah, make a motion to approve the changes for the associate 2022 member benefits and fees.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to the next item, city update. Kathy,
Yeah, just-
what might you have for us?
I know that we've got a lot of it that's being covered in some of the committee staff's reports, but just a few things. I know that there's a group of people who are meeting with the DID regarding Fresh Fridays. There's been some concern about the timing of that and taking a look at how that's been rolled out. If you recall that they hired a marketing person to release the Fresh Fridays. So that is something that's coming before the DID next week. The other one I wanted to let you know about is that there's a town hall tonight regarding what's going on in the park. The event space down below, that has been somewhat controversial. And that town hall will be this evening. And again, it is an event space. It's not considered a restaurant. It's an event space. So that is that I'm going to be going to actually the town hall for that this evening. It could have high impacts on parking downtown as it relates to all of us. The other thing, Thorpe Park, I noticed that we had some stuff attached to your packet. That's coming before the commission on Thursday to discuss that. There has been some litigation and some look for compromise on part of that park, turning that into a venue. And there is both good and bad right now because I am right there. I've been kind of immersed in it and I don't have an opinion one way or the other because I don't have enough information.
Which park did you say that was?
Thorpe.
Okay.
A new park, yes.
And if I might add, there's been some discussion at the board about actually that's important enough of a matter. We're going to convene a meeting tomorrow to go through that in more detail. Time to allow.
Sure. Yeah, it's going to have an impact on the park and green space, and so.
And that's on the city commission agenda Monday night.
Yes.
On the new business.
So, and I think that you're going to have people speaking on both sides of that. And I have to say, as I've been listening to the rumblings, there are legit concerns and pros for it. So, I mean, there are two sides to it, and I encourage people who have reached out to me, just hear both sides before you jump to a yay or nay on that. The other one too is the CY ordinance. We've talked about that. That is supposedly coming before the commission again in January. So that's basically it.
Yes, if I could comment on that, point out on the screen here, we have the layout there. This is where all the trellises were put in. And essentially right now, if you want to go to the park and sit under shade, this is the only space you can sit under shade. There are benches out here, but there's really very little shade. There's a few palms, there's some canopy trees that are back away that are small that haven't really grown out yet. And the other thing too is when, aside from them purchasing this land, part of the agreement that they're proposing is that the restaurant that's built here can then put chairs and tables out here in the public space, not just in their restaurant, but outside into the public space. So that's the impact. Plus over here, as I understand, the building that's adjacent to the mark is going to have a restaurant with outdoor seating right here on the corner, which will help to provide eyes onto the park. Is that correct?
Yes, so there were 3 parcels within the mark that are going to this event space, and then where the old Melby's was, that is purchased by the same man, but it's not part of the mark.
Right, I understand.
So the other thing I will say that is somewhat misleading on this is I would encourage to listen to what is being proposed, because I think this is misleading from my understanding. And I've been to 2 presentations on it, and I've actually been to Ringling looking at the renderings on this, and I think it's very nuanced as to what he owns and what he's actually going to be cutting out. The trellises that I've talked about, and I understand they are not going to be touched. So I don't know if that was your understanding, that he was going to be encroaching on that.
We have to be clear what the details are.
That's it.
That's the point.
Yeah,
All we have is the land here. They pick it all over, and the yellow will be developed.
Yeah, so I did walk the property with him. I will say the devil is in the details of all this, which we don't know yet. So that's why, the jury's still.
Well, to be continued.
Yeah,
Real time urgency. As far as the president's, anything else, Kathy?
No, that was it.
As far as president's report, and some of the questions, there was some of the things that I gleaned from you or seemed to me to be reasonable ones to ask there about. I hope everybody was some things. Moving on, many status reports, Ken, on your new arts and culture.
We had a meeting on November 16th, and it was a very stimulating time. We had full attendance at the meeting, and we invited Mary Davis Wallace to talk to us about the Public Art Master Plan effort, and specifically the survey. And that went very well, and the survey link was put under the newsletter, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it will go out to all the receivers of the newsletter. We talked about Alan's On Your Own Time proposal, and Mary Davis had read it, had some ideas about it, and Alan is working on arranging a meeting with Mary to discuss that, perhaps modifying, revising his proposal. I'm about to wrap up the VW Van Wezel 400-seat theater survey. Looks good. A lot of organizations are interested, including the Oslo and including the Opera. Wonderful. I talked to Bill Waddell this morning about another issue, but he mentioned that the Van Wezel operating agreement is the next step for the Van Wezel Foundation, and he didn't seem to know that. What's also interesting about that revised agreement between the city and the Bay Park Conservancy is that there was a piece relating to acquisition of public art for the Bay Park Conservancy, and that was removed by the city staff before it went to the commission and it is going to be revised to be consistent with the public art master plan. So it's going to be another year before that issue is resolved for the Bay Park Conservancy and for the public. And then it may be a number of, maybe 4 or 5 more years when they get the park built out before they'll even consider public art in the park. So, that's it.
Okay. All right, Jamie, Associates and Events Committee.
Covered that already. Yep. Yep.
Okay, Patrick on Green Space.
I think the only thing I had was the Paul Thorpe Parks. We'll just talk about that. Thank you.
And Peter, you're reactivated
Right.
homeless.
We had a committee meeting. It was lightly attended, but we had a good discussion, came up with a plan. If you remember last year, the committee had submitted its goals for the year, which we did not activate at all because of the pandemic and trying to get people together and stuff. So in this year, what we've decided to do is to identify a couple of things within the goal that promotes the efforts to address and reduce the impact of homelessness on downtown Sarasota. The first thing we thought, and it was a good suggestion made by a couple of committee members that were there, that we ought to develop an education module that we can publish and take to condominium associations, that they can either call on us as a resource to have a program there, and it would start with one of the most concerning issues of homelessness in downtown, and that's the Salvation Army, its location and its impact on downtown. The module would include something like a tour of the Salvation Army, 8 to 10 people. It would be in a seminar type format, 12 people. And we're talking to Brenda Downing. She's the newly appointed Director of Operations for the Sarasota Salvation Army, to enlist her support and be a resource for these kinds of meetings. Develop a folder of materials to be used in conjunction with the tour that is specific to the Salvation Army, printed with answers to frequently asked questions, and then call upon the local resources, and we would contact the resources for the association to assist in the presentation. And such people as Kevin Stiff, Sarasota City Homeless Coordinator, Joe Polzak, the Sarasota Police Department Attorney, and then the various agency heads like Suncoast Partnership, maybe Megan Howell from Second Heart Homes, various agencies of Resurrection House, to ask them to be a resource in this education module. We will put that together and bring it back to the committee. One thing that we would like to do, you'll get an email from me, we would like several board members, if not all of them, to volunteer to be the pilot of the first education program by taking the tour to the Salvation Army and going through this module with us. We also would ask, depending on how many of you express an interest, we would ask you to contact one person in your association to bring along with you. And so that will be coming out if the board approves of this effort. So by the shakes of the head, I think it looks like a consensus approval. We might not have to take it. Okay.
You hope to bring that back?
I'm hoping we can bring it back in January.
Great. Good. Health and safety, it's Kathy, it's got your name on there, but.
I know, but.
Okay.
Well, actually, I am, no, nothing.
Okay.
I bring all of our health and safety.
Okay, I can say very quickly in the COVID front, the numbers for today aren't out. I shared the ones last week, which county-wise had increased. It'll be interesting to see the numbers today. If that was a blip, or the city zips were actually down 20%, as I recall. But stay tuned for additional information.
I check Sarasota Memorial every day, and as of today, there are 20 people in there, either with COVID or recovering. They no longer have COVID, but they're recovering from side effects. But it's typically under 10 that are in there with COVID. the ICU is 4 or 5, and the death rate has flattened considerably over the last 3 or 4 weeks. I think the death rate is like 525. So.
Okay. All right, transportation, Roger, what you got?
Okay, well, I see you put on the Gulfstream roundabout construction, and I'm happy to report on that, since I live and watch it every day. And despite early confusion and delays when it first changed, the current construction configuration has significantly improved traffic flow through the intersection. What used to take me 10 minutes to drive downtown has been reduced to 5 minutes with the elimination of the traffic light at 41 at Gulfstream and Fruitville. It also reduced drive time to the airport with Fruitville and 10th Street roundabouts completed. My understanding is that the permanent roundabout configuration will be available in April of next year, even though construction will not be finished until fall. So people are still grumpy about it, and I don't blame them. But it really works pretty fine. The trolley is still waiting for SCAT and the county. I asked the people what's going on, and they, after finish cursing the county and its bureaucracy, they say they're waiting. Hopefully they will, well, they intend to start it they intend to start now. Now they're looking at the beginning of the new year. Legacy Bicycle Trail, the Payne Park, will be finished in February. That's really going to be pretty cool. It's going to be accessible for downtown residents, especially when they redo that upper part of Ringling that reaches into the park. The intersection, this is kind of a localized thing, but the intersection of US 41 and the Boulevard of the Arts is a stoplight. And we'd always hoped it would be a roundabout there. You know, evidently there's not going to be. Nick Patel, the city engineer, has offered to review a plan for that intersection, for a redesign of the intersection with our DSCA Transportation Committee. I'd like to convene that and invite any board members who would like to attend as well if you've got a specific interest in that. And this should be scheduled, I hope, shortly. Okay, and a couple more quick things. The planning department has completed a study of the primary downtown street grid and has proposed some changes to the current plan. They look like changes that we would find acceptable to making part of 10th Street and Fruitville Avenue into the primary grid streets along with other changes. And then a comment about Main Street, heavy discussion in planning and focus on getting underway to have a project to make Main Street a complete street. And that's, that definition has a more specific set of items with it. But essentially it's to make it safer for pedestrians and for automobiles, and we can go into detail of that sometime in the report.
No, I regard the potential Main Street refocus as huge news, and it seems to be evolving rather quickly. Big deal. I know the controversy about diagonal parking and all this kind of stuff, but let's try and come together. It looks like some movement.
So David, two things. One, on the Gulfstream roundabout landscape plan, our Green Space Committee met with the FDOT landscape guy a couple months ago, and tomorrow morning I'm meeting with Mary Davis Wallace. She has a background in landscape planning too, and has provided input on some of the landscape around that. So update her on what we've been discussing regarding that. And also regarding the vote, once you set a date, Roger, before we do that, we can send out a notice to include some of these surrounding condo reps.
That'd be good.
The rest
We're
of us.
probably gonna have to do that on Zoom, maybe,
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, just give me a target date and set it up for you.
Do you have a question? I do, as when he was talking about, Boulevard of the Arts and Yabby Yabby. The original Bay plan had a passenger walkway. Is that still on the table?
There's been no discussion.
Okay.
The current discussion is simply the redesign of the lights and the access. Of course, a lot of interest because access to the bay is a key issue.
Yes.
And it's gonna be more of an issue with the opening of the incremental, the kayak launch and the paths becoming better known and better, people wanna get to it.
They clearly want to have people access the Bay Park from 10th Street, which makes a lot of sense because there's a lot more access, a lot more space for turns for traffic.
And moving, Alan, anything on the EV traffic?
Yeah, I do. Since we last met, the Congress has passed the Build Back Better bill, and it's at the Senate now. It's likely to change somewhat. But let me just a few highlights about electric EV cars. The total potential tax credit in the bill is $12,500. So it's pretty significant. And that breaks down this $4,000 basic tax credit. If the car is made in the United States, you can add $4,500 credit. If the battery is made in the United States, you add another $500. And if the battery has at least a 40 kilowatt hour capacity, add another $3,500. So if you meet all those conditions in the car that you buy, it's $12,500. At the moment, the only car that meets all these criteria is the Chevy Bolt. But given this, the expectation is that a lot of manufacturers will be trying to conform to this in order to encourage more purchases. There's also a provision if you have a single taxpayer with adjusted gross income of $250,000 or filing jointly with $500,000 adjusted gross income, you're up to that point you're eligible. At that point, you're no longer eligible for full $12,500, but you are eligible on a decreasing basis. And I don't have that statistic. One other item is the electric bikes, which I have, which are really a hot item. You have you were saying hello to me. Because I was going to say I'll race it. But these are selling off the shelf. And I've tried to get the city to think about putting in electric plugs so people can charge their bike on the Legacy Trail. It's like banging my head against the wall, finding the right person. Finally, I was told that the Ashton station, which I saw open yesterday, that may have electric outlets. Now, I don't know if you have to do this surreptitiously or you sneak around behind the bathrooms and plug in. I don't know. But for electric bike owners, being able to extend your thing, even though it takes a long time to charge, even if you're in there for a half hour, would be helpful. So I'm going to go tomorrow and see if I can find this elusive outlet. And but anyway, if you purchase an electric bike, you get a 30% tax credit on the purchase price, capped at $900, which is pretty significant. Electric bikes cost anywhere between as a practical matter, between $1,000 and $2,000. You can spend $10,000 if you're crazy. I am in the process of drafting a survey that I would like to go out. I had mentioned, after Bob's survey, that it's a follow-up to find out what buildings are making progress or not, what what the status is of their EV stations. And drafting up something now, which I'm bringing back to you. And then I want to meet with Patrick to talk about a mailing list. Who's the appropriate person to get this?
Thank you.
Okay. Bob, on the Bay Park Conservancy.
Bay Park, everyone got the update I sent out today. You saw the kayak launch, which is ADA compliant. It's open and the Pioneer Bridge is open. There's some construction, obviously, that's where the tree farm is. We saw November 15th City Commission unanimously approved a change in the structure so that it's projected that the Bay Park will be finished 5 years sooner at a savings of $21 million.
Wow,
So,
that's incredible.
So it really is. Train has left the station.
Okay, thank you. CCNA,
By the way, they have strung up lights at Bay Park through the mangrove walkway and now a canopy over the recently reopened bridge over the canal, or not the canal, the estuary.
That's pretty cool.
oh,
Yeah,
I
I'm
would
not done
just-
at night,
I
but
would-
night comes
yeah.
by 5:36, so.
I would just add one other thing. You're not aware of it. Every Sunday in the little, I don't know what to call it, but you know, with the lawn
Civic
like
green.
this, one of those green, yeah.
Green.
Every Sunday at 2 o'clock, there's a little concert for an hour, and they've been terrific. And I would really urge everybody to go to try it. They're free.
Can't tell. Can't tell. And then last week was some jazz.
It was a jazz.
Yeah, I didn't get to see it.
It's terrific. She was great.
2 o'clock on Sundays.
2 o'clock on Sundays,
Oh,
and it's where it's right next to the municipal auditorium.
Yeah.
The other thing that they have, I know, is there's been a lady giving yoga lessons on Saturday morning there.
Karen, yes. It's good. She's not, now she's not, but yes, she's.
Well, there is some gonna be, I think, it's on Sunday. A lot of programs.
CCNA,
We had a meeting on the 6th of November. Our speaker was a guy named Gary Brumley, and he was the ADA coordinator for the city. And he's working a survey and so forth to see what needs to be done in the community to improve our accessibility to handicapped people. Maybe something that we maybe want to talk here about sometime in the future. So, and the other thing, we had a long discussion on home sharing with Chris Guglia from St. Armand Circle. I feel that this is an issue that the board here should take an interest in, because the home sharing is going to take away from hotel rooms downtown. And I think we need to support our downtown hotels to the extent that we can. And the home sharing is going to be very difficult to combat, because there's a lot of powerful developers that want to have it in order to take and build new homes and so forth at St. Armand Circle. And it's going to move into the city. You're going to have city homes that are going to be home shared. And although we love to have the idea to have the people that have homes be able to get some additional income, but if they don't have the same restrictions that hotels have, it's an unfair competition situation to where the city also is losing the 11% bed tax that the hotel provides to the city. So it's something to consider, I think.
that's it. Good. On the Rosemary District, a couple notable things. The PO has been cut for the demolition of the building. The two parcels, the quarter acre. So the PO's cut. We hope if the permit and everything aligns that it could be knocked down as soon as by the end of the year. Hopefully by the time of night market on the 16th. I don't know. We'll see. And then as far as the designs go, you will have likely seen 3 concepts that Kimmel Warren has come up with, A, B, and C. It's a survey we're about to try to get some additional feedback. The intent is to whittle that down to 2 concepts by in the next couple weeks for further filtering and opinions, and then hopefully sometime in January, find a concept that could hopefully be a concept enough to get some prices, and then get in budget discussion. But in the interim, there's to be the parcel is supposed to be sodded and irrigated. That's what I got from Rosemary. Moving along, Jamie and Kristen's
here.
She's here. Hello. Hi.
Could I, excuse me, could I make a suggestion? Could I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Last time when we did this, I got some comments back from other people. Would it be possible to have them stand up here so the people at home can see them? People who are zooming in?
Okay. How does that sound, Kristen?
You better.
Come on. And Lori? You look phenomenal.
She was much more festive than me, so let's get her right on camera. Where is this thing?
That's it right there. Oh, that's a sweater.
Oh, my.
So, ho, everybody.
Right in front of where Richard.
Okay, so the Grinch was going to be here, but a friend asked to borrow the Grinch to start the holidays during Thanksgiving when their family came down from Virginia. I think the Grinch had such a good time. He ended up in their trunk back to Virginia. They were going to overnight it to me, but this is the backup. So me and my glue gun were busy at work last night putting this thing together. So happy to see you all. I made homemade goodies for everybody if you'd like some. Angus and Terry, construction defect law firm. We have been taking on a whole bunch of new business and closing a bunch of accounts. We got 2 new attorneys in the last 90 days. So business is good, and we're happy to be here. And I have 2 of our client condo communities in downtown Sarasota. They're ready to sign up and join y'all. So you should be hearing from them soon. And I appreciate the work that y'all do and the opportunity to provide. Thank you so much.
Would you turn around so our audience like this can see that? We get you on the
You can't see the drum playing mermaid. That's the new one. Thank you, Lori. That's so nice. So I have some platinum members that I represent, but I'm
Kristen, could you come up?
gonna let this is so awkward. I'm gonna let where do I let
Or just sit down there.
See where David is sitting.
there you go.
Hey,
Yeah.
slide it over.
I'm gonna let Berg Simpson come up and give their spiel. Okay.
See you right there.
All right. Good evening, everyone. You may remember from last time, we were new members. We joined last time, and the fact that we're no longer any rookie members says that this is great. So as one of your veteran members, allow me to say thank you for letting us be here. We are also a construction defect law firm. And the highlight that I will give is, and this is Ryan Pardue, my partner, by the way. The highlight that I will give is I am obviously, since the building collapsed, it's been terrible, and that was a tragedy. But one thing I will point out is since then, people have opened their eyes and recognized that while we want development, we want construction, we want condos, we want walkability, we want them done correctly, right? And so people are starting to bring us in a little bit earlier so that we can speak with developers and builders and contractors and say, you know, this is wrong, can we try to fix it? We're actually starting to see that they are interested in fixing rather than just say sue us. And so whether it's the carrot or the stick, we're proud to represent associations, residential associations, in making sure their buildings are done correctly. So that's what we do.
Great, thanks for being here. And our long lost friend we haven't seen in a while, Jake House. Come on over and tell us a little bit about First Service.
Hi, everybody. Jake House with First Service Residential. Kristen sent me a photo the other night of us in the same room, 2018. So
yep.
We've just been
party.
blessed to be a part of this organization. It's good to see so many familiar faces. We think this is a tremendous resource for our clients. And you guys, you know, we cover Tampa, St. Pete, Sarasota in our area. There's no organization like this in the other downtowns. You guys are truly a voice for the residents, and you do a good job. So we're happy to be here. Thanks for letting us be involved. One little piece, because I know we're supposed to share new information. We have a benchmarking guide that covers our 1,600 customers across Florida, broken down into different categories, high-rise, low-rise, garden style, that really tracks the 6 main drivers of spend. So if anybody needs a copy of that, happy to get that off to you. So thanks.
Thank you. Awesome. Thanks, Jace. And the only ones left are my clients, so I'm going to rush through them real quick. CBiz Insurance. The new thing is there's nothing new. It's way more expensive, and you're probably going to get less services. Sorry, but it's not CBiz's fault. You know, it's just the industry right now. You know, Core Marketing is my company. I never really get to talk about myself. Something new is I'm expanding to the East Coast next year, and I just took on the administrative role at the Building Managers International in Tampa. So I'm going to be busy next year. Everybody knows Forge Engineering is switching over. They just got bought out by Socotec. Just so you know, I sell the EV charger subcommittee. So they just hired an engineer that is electrical, which is unheard of in our industry. Usually they don't have someone on staff that does that. He was an engineer at FPL for 30 years. So if you want that engineer to come and speak at any time about that topic, he'd be happy to do that. We have professional plumbing and design. I don't know if everybody here knows that they do remodeling. So right now, where it's hard to get workers in, that's a good way to get in your remodeling project done in your kitchen or bath. Has to involve plumbing somehow. And then Right Way Emergency Services, water mold, nothing new there, except that hurricane season is over. So we're happy about that. So, yeah, that's it. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
He's going to tell us recently. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Are there any final board comments before we go into comments from the member representatives? Member representative, any comments from those in the room or those on Zoom?
I have a comment. I just wanted to add, somebody mentioned, and forgive me, I can't recall exactly which person, that we're potentially doing an educational segment for associations. Yes. I wanted to just capitalize on that and propose that perhaps if we are going to do some educational segments, maybe we take advantage of it and broaden it to education and various other components. One of the things that I always bring up, I go around Florida teaching continuing education credits. I always bring up the fact that knowledge is power, and our legislature is proposing a lot of legal bills right now that affect condominiums and affect downtown living and affect community living a lot. And a lot of people don't know about all of these proposals, so their voices aren't heard and they don't participate. So if there is any way, I propose to the board, if there is any way that we can capitalize on educational committees to the community, I'm happy to be part of that. I'm happy to brainstorm that with you. So just a proposal that I think we can do more on education.
Yes, Joe.
Jim Lample from the Jewel Condominium. Jim Lample from the Jewel Condominium. Are you all aware of the enormous fish kill that's been going on in the ponds at the roundabout construction project?
Sure. Could you repeat that? There's noise back there.
There's been a lot of fish kill from the retention ponds that are being evaporated and filled by the roundabout project. And FDOT has been quite aware of this. They think they say that it meets the Florida Wildlife Commission's regulations. I'm sort of from Missouri on that. I can't believe that you could purposely let thousands of little fish die, maybe turtles and frogs too, while you drain a pond and don't aerate it and just watch this happen. So along with the poor dead animals, we have a lot of stench from the dead fish. It's sort of like when we had red tide, but in miniature right in front of our bayfront buildings. So we have a number of people in the condominium facing bayfront who've been following this for some time. And the fish kill started when they turned off the fountain to aerate the pond, and then the sediments concentrated. Of course, the fish can't live, the wildlife dies. I want to bring up the attention.
Okay. Any other final comments? Here, everybody's we're running ahead of schedule. Somebody must know that there's a party coming. So, So our next meeting will be January 5th, same time, same place. Hopefully, sorry for those watching the technical glitch in the Zoom link, but we'll try and do better the next time. We have been running too smoothly Zoom-wise, so we got sorry about that. I apologize. So any other business? Otherwise, shall we stand and adjourn? A motion to adjourn? Second? Okay, thanks everybody for adjourn. Party time.
I've had that sitting in my car forever.
So I was looking for.